Chris Cowlin. Fan cams. Club news. Transfer news. Match previews. Legend interviews. Spurs winning. Press conferences. Covering everything Tottenham and England.
Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. I hope you've had a good weekend, everyone. We are currently live on YouTube, on Facebook and on X. This is another episode of the viewers and listeners' comments and questions. And I must say that I've really enjoyed a lot of these episodes that we have put out in the last couple of weeks. Joining me, of course, is returning guest, channel regular, Spurs fan, actor, legend, good friend of mine, Ricky Norwood. Rick, how are you, mate?
I'm good, my friend. I am good. Happy to be on. Happy to be speaking to all you beautiful people out there around the world. So, yeah, chuck in your comments, chuck in your questions. Let's get to it because there's a very important game on the horizon that we have to jump into as well at some point. So it should be a good, interesting one. I'm looking forward to having a good conversation with you beautiful people out there. So get involved. Let's have it.
There's a comment already. Let's be positive. I'll tell you what, Ricky. I've got Mr. Positive on here. I'll tell you what. If I was to give some of my regular guests like yourself a title, that would certainly be it, Mr. Positive. How are you feeling right now?
I'm good, bro. I'm positive.
Love it.
Nah, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's been 3 games. It's very early on, but I'm really impressed with a lot of elements of the games. I'm seeing a lot of tweaks in the way that we're playing. Yes, it's been 1 win, 1 draw, 1 lost. Yes, okay, but I'm seeing a lot of kind of good things happening with the side. So I'm ready to jump in, bro. Ready to jump in.
Well, Ricky, let's get straight into it. Michael says here, I'm feeling positive. It's a long season, but when we click, it's going to be on. Now, we've spoken at length, particularly on the after match podcasts about how many chances that we have created in the 3 games so far. I think that a lot of people are disappointed because, it's fair to say we should be sitting here 3 games in, 3 wins. We created more than enough chances and opportunities, really clear-cut opportunities in that Leicester game that should have been put to bed at half-time, in my opinion. That was very frustrating. Of course, we come away with a draw. Lost the other away game at Newcastle, which was hard to take last weekend. But as Michael says, when we click in that final third, Ange Postecoglou has said so often, hasn't he, last season, about there is so much growth to come in that final third. Of course, very disappointing, very frustrating for all of us, including Ange. The fact that we go out and sign Dominic Solanke, £65 million, record signing, doesn't have an injury for Bournemouth all last year. Injury record is absolutely exceptional. Comes to Spurs, plays 1 game, and then the next 2 out. Of course, we are hoping that he returns to the starting 11 for the Arsenal game next Sunday. But as Michael said, when it clicks, it's going to click.
No, mate. And that's what I'm excited for. I think he's absolutely right there. You can see all of the chances that we're creating. You can see some of the amazing one-touch play that we've got, some of the dynamite through balls that we've got, the way in which we're playing, the rotations, the covers. Even Maddison came out with an interview not too long ago, and he was talking about the high line, basically, and how many times it looks dangerous, but they've been caught offside, and then it ends up being pulled back. But it looks like we've conceded a chance, but we haven't. Now we have conceded some chances, and there is a lot of risk when you're playing risk and reward football. There is that element of risk, and when we don't take our chances, inevitably in the Premier League, someone's going to take that opportunity that presents itself to them, and they know by the time that they get it that they've got to take it, otherwise they're going to be out of the game. So once we start to click, once we actually click into gear and everybody knows the runs, the play, and we've got, big Dom Solanke up there as well, who's going to be hungry to put away goals. He's going to be hungry. He wants to make a statement. He wants to prove a lot of doubters wrong about the price tag, about whether he's a big club player or a big time player. And so he's going to be hungry for goals. So once it does, my friend, we won't have to worry about the risk element. We'll be so many goals in front that will be a byproduct. That'll be something that we won't even discuss, you know. I can't wait for it. And I feel it's going to start, mate. I feel it's going to start to come now. So I can't wait for it.
Ricky, as an actor, you're very used to being put on the spot. And I know I've put you on the spot a number of times during the podcast in the last couple of years. Sean Slater writes now, what are the chances of Ricky to give the squad a motivational, positive speech before the North London derby? So what I'm going to ask you right now is, if you were to go into that changing room right now, what are you saying to these players?
Oh, wow. I mean, firstly, I'd say this is the North London derby. There doesn't need to be any motivational speaking going on. There doesn't need to be anybody to kick you up the backside. You should be feeling the fire right now. You know, like, you don't only represent the shirt, you don't only represent that cockerel, but you represent every single person in that stadium cheering you on, and every single person around the world watching you, cheering you on for one of the most important games in the season, let alone in this journey that we're on right now. So you go out there, you make your name for yourself, go become a hero, go become a legend, go become a guy that they speak about for years and years and years to come, because you pulled off that amazing move, you scored that amazing free kick, and you banged that amazing hat trick. Go be the hero, go be the ones that they put on a wall, and it's a poster, and kids dream about that moment, and hopefully having that moment for themselves one day. Go make it happen. Come on, you Spurs.
Ricky, Crispy T writes here, feeling a bit underwhelmed at the moment. A win against the Goons will definitely pick me up. I tell you what, the mood in the amongst the fan base at the moment, have you been surprised by how a lot of people have been feeling in the last couple of weeks, you know, with these 3 games that have been played so far? Because it is fair to say we've had a number of different views, a number of different opinions on this channel in the last couple of weeks. Some views have frustrated some of the viewers and the listeners of people that we've had on. But I feel it is very, very important to get those views of everyone, how everyone is feeling right now. But I think Crispy T is absolutely right. A win against Arsenal will certainly pick this fan base up. And especially when we go into that Carabao Cup game as well against Coventry, you know, imagine that could be a fantastic week. Imagine a win against Arsenal, a win against Coventry. We then face Brentford at home. Can you imagine 3 wins in a week? What it would do for this fan base right now?
Massive, and not only for the fan base, but for the team itself. Massive. Once we start on that motivational kind of momentum steam train, once we jump on that, like, and we get 3 wins back to back, you know, that's when we're cooking. That's when we're off. You know, we're out of the station. We're on our way. It could be amazing. Now, when it comes down to positive, negative fans and how people are feeling, I've always said on the show and to every fan that if you truly love this club inside backwards, you live and breathe for it, you know, you read everything, you watch every 60-minute kind of update that Chris puts out, you know, you're an obsessed fan and you love this club, then if you feel a certain way, then I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong in that's how you're feeling. But what I always try and do is, like, look at it in small chunks, because if we look at it as a whole, sometimes it can get you down. Sometimes it can put massive frustration and massive pressure on you. The boss, Ange, already had doubters before the season started. You know, people were talking, there was a really kind of hushed rumor that was going around here and there and kind of going, you know, he won't last till Christmas, this, that, and the other. And so with, you know, a win, a draw, and a loss, sometimes it can be seen as confirmation bias. See, we're not going to win anything. See, it's not going to happen. And if we would have won the 3 out of 3, then it could have been, you see, well, we're going to collapse again like we did after the 10 games. And you're almost waiting for the collapse. Sometimes we have to almost kind of shake ourselves up and kind of go, what if it all went right? You know, a good friend of mine said that to me. Just about life. We were talking about life and the ups and downs of life, and you know, what if tomorrow, what if it all does go right? What if it all kind of clicks into place? What if, and as a supporter, through thick and thin and through the dark times and the great times that this club's had, that I've been on this journey with, you got to kind of stick with them. It's a marriage. You know what I mean? It's a relationship, and there ain't no divorce. You know, we cannot talk for a little while, but there ain't no divorcing in this one. So what if all of this starts to click? What if it all goes right from this point forward? I think Ange is a fantastic boss. I think if you really look at his football and you placed him, and I don't want him to go anywhere. Let me just put that out there right now. But if you placed him at Liverpool, at Man City, he could easily play this style of football and get the results that he wants and deserves, and he'd be lauded as the next messiah in football, bro. But you know, we've had a major rebuild that has happened in this squad. This is the first time we've had a manager that has had a second preseason. You know, it's the first time, you know, for a long time we've bought players that fit a system and fit a philosophy, and we've bought them for their character and their personality, as well as their ability, as well as how great they could potentially be. And, you know, we're just at the beginning of this. Yes, this is phase 2, but we're still very much in the early stages of Ange actually having his squad of players, or a squad of players that when he changes it, when he makes substitutions, they're for a reason. They understand the job. They're going to go out there and bring something different to the table, but fundamentally play the Ange way. You know, and that is very much the Tottenham way as well. You know, it's very much attacking and front-footed. This guy could take us to a lot of greatness, but we have to be patient with him. Yes, I understand the impatience with the club. Yes, I understand the impatience with investment, and we could always do 1 or 2 more, and etc., etc. But we're on a journey. For the first time since Poch, we've actually got somebody who has picked a destination, who has decided how we're going to get there, and we're all rowing in the same direction right now. The squad and the club, they're all rowing in the same direction right now, from top to bottom. And us fans, we've been thrown from pillar to post with different managers, different hopes, win now. Do you know what I mean? Okay, like we sacrificed, you know, we saw some winning football, but we sacrificed a lot of the enjoyment of watching Tottenham many a time through those podcasts too. We've gone pillars. We've tried everything right now, and finally they've decided on a way forward, and they've got this philosophy, they've got this destination, and we've got a man that can actually do the job, that can actually see it through, that can actually play the football that we all want to play, get results, and be successful. It's not easy. It's not easy in the Premier League, and we can't be entitled. We can always hope and want for more, but being entitled is because you're never given what you're owed in life, ever. Do you know what I mean? Like, life ain't fair, and we know that. Do you know what I mean? Like, so results might not be fair, the league table might not be fair, but it is what it is, right? So and the good times are coming. So it's about kind of like going, okay, cool. I know yesterday was a bad day, but today, with this guy in charge, with where we're going, I can see once it all clicks, this could be phenomenal. This could be 10 times better than Poch. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm seeing. And I love Poch inside backwards. Do you know what I mean? So but I can see with this guy and with this direction, and with the type of players that we're bringing in, with the way that they're playing, and with the squad as kind of together as they have been for a long time. You know, they're very much a together squad, that once this train gets rolling, this could be phenomenal. And that's the day I hope for. That's the day I wish for. Do you know what I mean?
Ricky, as I said earlier, and as I've said on other episodes, I absolutely love doing these because there's no script. It is all about what the listeners and the viewers want to know or want to talk about. John writes here, hey, Ricky Norwood, Chrissy Watts is back. Do you still keep in touch with anyone in EastEnders, and would you like to go back one day? Because honestly, round the stadium, the amount of times that people stop me and go, Ricky Norwood, when's he going back in EastEnders?
Well, I mean, do I still keep in touch? Yes, I keep in touch with a lot of the guys still there. You know, Tamika's a good friend who plays Kim, Jacqueline Josso who plays Lauren, you know, Adam Woodyat, and Michelle Collins. You know, I worked with Michelle Collins on a musical before I got to be in the flashback episode last year, I think it was, and that was the first time we acted together, being in the square. So yeah, I still speak to a lot of them. I still keep in touch. Tom Law's a good friend. You know, he's a big Leicester supporter. I'm going to bring him on at some point. We'll do it maybe for the home game or something. I'll speak to him. But yeah, still speak to him, man. Speak to a lot of them. And when it comes down to EastEnders is such a beautiful time in my life. Do you know what I mean? I love the people there, the camera guys, the sound guys, the day-to-day goings on. Do you know what I mean? The reception, the ADs, and that type of kind of hustle and bustle, and the kind of the pressure of the work as well. Because some days you could be all over the place. Some days it could be a sad scene in the morning. Your second scene is a happy, bouncy scene. In the middle, we're burying somebody in the woods. Then you're coming back to the Vic. But all of these are on different days and all the different emotions. You got to remember what's happening. And so that type of pressure, and then sometimes getting to set and the whole scene's been changed. So they give you a new script on set. So then all of the things that you just prepared or had an idea about, all right, you got to chuck them out the window. Then you got to go again. You got to figure it out. You know, and then you've only got 3 minutes because we're going to chuck it on set, and then we're going to do, you know, so that type of pressure and those type of people to people relationships, because it is very much a family in that place. Family, it is very much a family in that place.
Can I just say, for those people watching outside of the UK, Ricky is talking about acting, so we're not talking about burying people in the woods. Really,
no,
it's not real.
Yes,
it's not real.
EastEnders. It's a BBC flagship show. It's been on for you know, for years and years and years, and I was a part of that show. That's what I was talking about. Sorry. No, you're absolutely right, bro. But yes, so it's a very much a family-orientated place. I love it to bits. I'm always going to have love and respect for those people, and they're doing great work. So if they ever wanted to give me a call, I'm always here for them. I went back for the flashback episodes, so if they wanted to give me a call, I'm here. I've always got love for Easties.
Yeah, I always get asked that question, by the way, Ricky. Yeah. Grant says here, I'm optimistic about Sunday. This club of ours will turn up and put on a show. Grant, I'm certainly hoping so. Frankie Cool writes here, Ricky. I say, stand staunch being a happy clapper is our part to support the team. The negative is being worked out by the club, the players, and the coaches. It's seeing the project through that brings the greatest reward. I know that we have spoken a little bit about this before, where some fans like to put other fans in a bracket of you're either a happy clapper or you're a toxic fan. You know, as I've said, and as you've said, you know, you said it very, very well a week or so ago about the whole happy clapper thing, you know, about supporting the club. But the club, the players and the coaches, we've both said it on various streams about giving Ange Postecoglou that time, that patience, the tools. From what I really want to ask you, I suppose, is 14 months ago, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan, and how different is it now?
Well, you know, like just before Ange came in, I really did feel that we was on the Titanic. That we had been kind of, we'd already hit the rock, but we'd be bouncing and we'd be below the waves, and then we might get our head above water. But I believe by the time we got to just before Ange, I was like, I don't know where this club's going right now. I don't know if they have got a direction, if they have a vision, if they want to do anything. You know, after after having high profile managing and win now managers in Conte and Mourinho, and them both having now made history at the only club they've, you know, not won at, being Tottenham. Add into that joke, add into that kind of that banter and that pressure. I was like, who's gonna come here? You know, I remember speaking to my good friend Darren Hart, and he was talking about Rafa Benitez at one point, and I was like, yeah. I mean, I hear ya. I'm like, I hear ya. I hear what you're saying, and he put a good kind of like a proposition, and I was like, I hear you, man, but like, I don't think that's the way. Like, I just don't think it's. I just didn't feel it. Do you know what I mean? You know, I was talking about Dutch managers as per usual, whether it was Slot or I think it was Slot at that time. You know, I always like the Dutch way of playing, the Ajax way and stuff like that. And I feel that they're similar to Tottenham. So I remember talking about that, but these were all hopes and dreams. And I remember Slot ended up denying us, didn't he? Ended up signing a new contract and staying at final. And then again, I'm like, so now what? So then I almost kind of gave up a little bit. I'm like, well, okay, I don't really, at this point, I don't really care who comes in. I don't really care who we sign right now. It got to that point where I was just like, I'm just gonna like support my team. Whatever happens, happens. And I was in a defeatist type of place. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, I didn't have no ambition or any hopes for any glory at that point. I thought, all right, cool. We've sunk. The Titanic has sunk, and it's just about, you know, how we get through the winter now. So you know what I mean? So that's how I was, and little bit by little bit when we signed Ange, and I dismissed Ange as well. Like I'm just like, you know, it's in a very ignorant way. I will put my hands up and say, you know, I don't watch Scottish football in that way. I just know that it's either Celtic or Rangers that win. The only times I ever really kept an eye on was when Jermaine Defoe was up there, because I love Jermaine Defoe. So I kept an eye on him when Jem was there and Gerrard was manager and stuff like that. And when I was working up there was no Scottish football. So it's not even, I got to speak about Scottish football, but I didn't really get to see any. So, you know, having that bit of ignorance kind of going, well, of course Celtic won the league a couple of times. Well, what else is going to happen? You know, I don't know who this guy is, but again, I was very much, well, whatever happens. And little bit by little bit, because I didn't even want to research him. You know, when you do your research, when you start reading up, you start watching videos, you start looking at interviews, you start looking at past tactics. There's, you know, 101 fantastic creators out there that put together compilations and packages of you know, Ange quotes or moments, and little bit by little bit, as I, you know, as we signed him and then I started to invest, I just started to go, oh my gosh, like I think we might have a winner here. And then I'm like, okay, cool. And then I hear him speak for Tottenham, and I'm like, all right. And I'm trying to hold back, like I'm trying to hold back on it, but I can see it. But I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hold back. I'm gonna keep you at arm's length, you know. And after those 10 games, because I normally judge where we are after 10 games, you know, you could it's just a better kind of barometer of judging where you are and where you're at and what you need for January and where you need to be. It's a nice barometer at that point. And at that point, we'd had 10 games unbeaten and we were flying. So at that point, you know, I got wrapped up and I started singing the Ange song, and, you know, and Robbie Williams was singing it, and, you know, times were good again. And I was just like, thank goodness, because that joy of loving your team and being proud of them and them going out there and doing everything, that joy that I get from Tottenham is just massive. It just makes my day. Do you know what I mean? It just, I walk differently, I smile differently. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm just buzzing when my Tottenham are singing. Do you know what I mean? When they're on song, I love it to pieces. So after that, I could see it, and from then, that's why I'm like, I'm gonna stick with this guy, and not just for the good times, but all of the bad times that came after that, I could account for, I could give reason for. The last section, they dropped off massively. That last 10 games, they dropped off massively. And I was kind of like, okay, there's certain things that need to be addressed, but he was dealing with half a squad. He was seeing which players he could rely on, which ones he wanted to keep, which ones he wanted to get rid of, which ones he had to stick with, you know, because of contracts or clauses or this or that. There was lots of issues that he had to deal with when he came in, and little by little bit he's chipping away and he's chipping away and he's chipping away. And we've got to look at the other examples as well. Like I don't want to talk about Demlot down the road, but I remember when Demlot's manager, you know, was having a rough time, and I think it was by November everybody was calling for his head, and the Gooner fans were being called toxic, and they were being very kind of, you know, very angry and very kind of visceral, you know, in their interviews and in their YouTube clips and stuff like that. And they ended up sticking with him, and they ended up seeing some good times, you know, and they're on a roll right now. They're believing in themselves right now because they stuck with it. Pep is another example who had a really tough time, but I don't think anybody envisioned us seeing Man City get rid of Pep at that moment. They're going to stick with him. And so you've seen it. Klopp was another one that needed a couple of years, but the green shoots were there, and they just kept feeding it, and they fed it slowly. But, you know, once they made those big moves with Van Dijk and Alisson, they started flying, you know. And this is where we're at right now. We're putting in the seeds. The grass is only 2 inches long. Do you know what I mean? It's only seen a little bit of sunshine and a little bit of rain, you know, but we're on our way.
Well, Frankie, thanks so much for that comment, and I completely agree with everything Ricky said there. And I think it's worth noting as well that the changes, the massive changes that have been made at the football club in the last 14 months or so that Ange Postecoglou has been there, not only on the pitch, but all the players going out the door, and so many personnel changes in terms of the academy, backroom staff, his coaching staff, and I say this quite often, Ricky, and I've said this quite often in the last couple of weeks. I think a lot of people often forget of what Ange Postecoglou walked into, in terms of a lot of the crap, so to speak, off the pitch. And he has sorted a lot out. And I really, really do believe, I know a lot of people are frustrated about these 3 games, us not sitting here with 9 points out of a possible 9 and only sitting here with 4. But he has changed a lot, has improved a lot off the pitch. And hopefully that will help for the future growth of our football club. As I said, Ricky, we never know what's coming next. Becker's the lad writes here. Have the both of you ever considered playing the trumpet before the match? Would love to hear that. I don't think you would. I think back in the day, many, many years ago, I think I had a go, and you wouldn't have wanted to hear that. Ricky, what about you?
No. I'm all right. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm going to leave it to the trumpeter, because he does a great job. Always send tingles up my spine, man. Do you know what I mean? Always gets the hair in the back of my neck going. So I think he's doing such a great job that I wouldn't like to outshine him. I wouldn't like to just go up there and do the jazz version and just, and then try and take his job. I'm not going to do that to him. So yeah, I'm going to refrain from trying the trumpet.
Ricky, let's talk about Brennan Johnson, because Klingsman Hotspur 9792 writes here. Eze cost £60 million and we spent £50 million on Brennan Johnson. Now, very recently, Teddy Sheringham has been talking about Brennan Johnson and has come out with this. I'm still not sure what his best position is. Is he a right winger? Is he a centre forward? I'm not really sure. You wouldn't call him a winger because he doesn't really get in that many positions to cross into the box. Now, I'm just going to give you some stats before I ask you your opinion on Brennan Johnson. He's played in 3 matches, 2 starts, 213 minutes played this season in the Premier League. He's had 5 shots, 3 on target. He's created 1 chance. He's had 28 touches in the opposition box. Sonia also writes here, sometimes these former players are so cruel, about what Sheringham said about Johnson. Now, 28 touches in the opposition box for Brennan Johnson so far this season in these 3 games. I tell you what, he is certainly getting into the right areas and in the right positions. But for me personally, I feel like his end product needs to be a lot better. Now, 28 touches, as I said. Kulusevski's had 25 in the opposition box so far. Son has had 21. Maddison's only had 16. Odegaard 11. Bissouma 1. So it goes to show that Brennan Johnson is getting in the right positions. He's getting a lot of touches in the ball in the opposition box. Ricky, what have you made of his Spurs career so far?
I think it's tough with Brennan. First and foremost, he's one that the boss wanted. So when we talk about backing the manager, the club will back the manager. I thought it was expensive for him. But again, they've gone in and they've backed him with those funds to go and get that type of player. He hasn't, been the Brennan that I think Ange saw at Nottingham Forest at the moment. I think he's very much a kind of confidence player. I think he's still very young. Even very young in the Premier League. I think it was, Chris, you would know. You tell me. I think he only had 1 season in the Premier League with Forest before he joined us.
Yeah, because of course they come up. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So he's had 1 Premier League season. He's had a big money move, which is massive. He's a Nottingham boy. He's come over. Things are different at Tottenham. There's a lot of change at Tottenham. I think there's, we've got to be careful with. Look, I'm not saying don't criticize. We've criticized, and I think to quell some of the comments, maybe, he should have scored more. His first touch sometimes is slightly off, which takes him out of his running stride, which then, it breaks down the move. But there are so many good things that come from his game. He does have a bit of pace. He is trying to hit that first-time cross. There was that video out there where Mason was talking about football geography and stuff like that, and hitting it first time and your man will be there. there's some of the runners that were with him that couldn't keep up with him, you know, and didn't make the right runs that they should have made. And I didn't look at it until I saw that myself, you know.
Yeah.
So he is doing a lot of good things. He has also done more than Lo Celso and Ndombele combined. And that's just me guessing. But just for me, already, he's done more on the field than those two combined. And I gave those two many a chance and many an excuse. And, you know, it is what it is right now, right? So he's done more. He's younger. He's finding his feet at Tottenham. There was pressure put on him last year in the sense that he ended up having more games than he should have. Not than he should have, than was planned. I think he was bought for an option to come off the bench to then decimate tired legs and create chaos with his pace and that first time crossing ability and a goal here, there, and everywhere. Also a versatile player that has played on the left, has played as a striker, and does play on the right too. Those roles, he's covered those roles. So it's not foreign to him. So I think that's what ended up happening. And then once he started getting regular game time and starting and stuff like that, there was that pressure. There was the price tag that came. And then we also have to remember that there was a lot of online hate that he was getting. There's criticism and then there's hate. Do you know what I mean? And if you want anyone,
I'm glad you brought that up, Ricky, because it can't help. It cannot help players, can it?
No.
Because every single player, no matter whether they should do it or not, and I'd certainly advise players not to go on social media or have social media accounts. And I've spoken to journalists about this before, and they've agreed. But it cannot help because they all see this stuff on social media, and it was very sad actually when he had to turn the comments off on Instagram on a number of posts because he knew that he was going to get that abuse. That is not nice, is it?
No. And how do you expect to get up and go again? How do you expect to go and give 100%? You know, when everything you're overanalyzing, you're overthinking, you can see that he wants to do so well. So look at his reactions in these first 3 games when he's played or when he's come onto the field. Look at his reactions when something goes wrong. He literally looks like the world has ended, because I think that part of what's going on in the back of his head is, oh my gosh, they're going to get me again. Oh, what are they going to say? Oh my gosh, it hasn't worked out again. So we've got to all help Brennan change that. Do you know what I mean? We can't hate him. You can criticize him. I think that he would criticize himself. I think his family, he comes from a football family. They're going to say, your first touch, son. Like when you took that cross, your first touch, you know, if you would have brought that down, you could have taken it on, you could have done what you needed to do with it. But it was just like, so don't tell me that there's not footballing conversations going on. And this is what I'm saying about being careful as well. Like, let's use Brennan as an example, but all of these young players, we've got a squad full of young players, right, that have all grown up on the internet. They've all grown up on YouTube. They've all grown up on social media. It's a part of their day-to-day life. Do we not think that Mikey Moore's got an Instagram account, etc., etc.? Do you know what I mean? So from 16 to 23, I think Brennan's 23. So from 16 to 23, there's a generation there that are growing up at Tottenham that live their life on social media. And one way, shape or another, that hateful message, because negativity always screams louder. It always lasts longer. It always reverberates for longer. It sticks around longer. You know, that message is still going to get to him one way or another. And that's where I come with that. That's why I'm kind of saying, like, we got to be careful with these young ones. You know, we're speaking about getting Mikey Moore in the team. What if he has a poor touch? What if we say he's all talk? What if we start piling it onto a 16-year-old? Do you know what I mean? Hate. Criticism is different. They're going to be criticizing themselves. Whenever I've been on stage and I might have been doing a routine or I might have been doing something and I know I've missed a step in my head and I haven't shown it to the audience, but I can go off and I'm already stressing about it. I'd be in the wing stressing about it. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I know I missed that. They're like, Rick, don't worry about it. Nobody saw. I said, I know nobody saw, but I know. Do you know what I mean? So there's going to be, especially in high professionals, especially in where analysis and analytics and data is thrown at these players like more than ever before. So there is, you can't even deny a criticism anymore. You know what I mean? The data is there showing it. The coach is like, look, I'm not telling you, the numbers just told you. You know, so there's more pressure on these players to be perfect, but they're not robots. The young players are gonna fall. They're gonna bump their knee. They're gonna kick the floor. They're gonna miss a pass. You know, it's about how we support them through that and how they react to it. Do you know what I mean? If they can hear us audibly, but then go, come on, pick it up, let's go again. Do you know what I mean? Then there's a different energy behind them. Look at Bergvall when he lost the ball. I can't remember what game now. Was it Leicester?
Leicester, yeah.
Leicester. When Vicario had a go at him.
Yeah.
Someone saying, was that harsh? I said that my personal view on it was like, I'm happy that happened. Because right now, Bergvall understands that this is life or death. Do you know what I mean? This is a serious game. And it might have been too tough, but at that age, sometimes if you learn that lesson now, do you know what I mean? That could be a pivotal, very valuable lesson for not only this season, but going forward, bro. You know?
I think some people were frustrated though, Ricky, that he had a go at an 18-year-old rather than someone like Christian Romero. So I think that's what a lot of people were a little bit miffed with. But
I get it, but that's what I'm saying. I think that Vic was almost going, it's a teachable moment. Yeah. And sometimes in the class, you shout at the good kid to tell the bad kid off as well. It was just a teacher thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's right in what you say. You just cannot make any slight error in the Premier League. And funny enough, that's what Bergvall said in the last couple of days. You just cannot make any little mistake in the Premier League because it is so important.
And how do you feel about what I'm saying there about the young ones and socials as well? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you get where I'm coming from?
Ricky, I am not a fan of social media. If I was a footballer, I'd have nothing to do with social media at all. I don't think it's a good thing for footballers or any elite athletes to be on social media when they can see all of that abuse going on. I just don't think it's worth it. People would think that I use social media a lot. I go there, I post, I come away because, even people like us, we get abused sometimes with some of our opinions about our football club. You know, we support our club to death. We talk about our club every single day on these podcasts, and you can be criticised and heavily criticised, and people can say a lot of personal stuff about it, and you're thinking, well, where did that come from? I'm only talking about my club, but that if it can be so strong on this level, you're talking on YouTube about football. Imagine playing football. Imagine what abuse they are getting. It's unreal, and it's so uncalled for, and that is something that I would never ever promote if I was anywhere near football players. I'd tell them to stay away from social media 110%.
But like sometimes it's in a contract as well. Like so sometimes there's media outlets or a kind of sponsorship deals where you end up having to use your platform for let's say a pair of boots. Do you know what I mean? Like, So there is that. So it's like, but in this younger generation, it's inevitable that they're going to be there. So all I'm saying at this point in time is, if you love this club and you support this club through the good and the bad and the dark and the light, and you've been through it, you've rinsed. I know I'm rinsed too at certain times, even though I've got a smile on my face. I know Chris has been rinsed. You know what I mean? He goes there every single game, so he's had to live through that pain and then drive back and then speak about it on a bloody well pod as well. Do you know what I mean? So I know how we're feeling, but those guys there with this generation, with our type of supporters, because our supporters are class, bro. Every time that I've ever been amongst our supporters and a group of people, I've not got nothing but love and like good vibes and kindness,
Ricky,
and caring, as well as passion.
So sorry to interrupt you there, but I think it's really important to say, because from what you see on social media, the attitude on social media is very, very different. And I mentioned this on the podcast the other day. It is very, very different. Going to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and especially away games, the level of support in away games is super special, because you can go literally out of a ground, haven't watched Spurs play away, and then 5 minutes later you go on social media. And what you see on social media to what you've seen people talk about, heard what people have talked about inside that ground is completely different.
But Chris and audience and guys that are listening, right, and text in, right, a message, do something, but in today's world, negativity screams louder. It gets more clicks, it gets more hits, it gets more interaction, even if you say something outlandish. So there has been, and I'm not saying this is everybody, but there are some genuine concerns out there. There is some genuine pain that the club has caused some of our supporters, and they lay it out, and I get that. I get where that comes from, you know. I totally get that. But there are some in today's world that will put out nastiness and then wait for confirmation bias, wait for us to drop a point or to miss a pass or to concede a goal from a set piece, to then like let all of that out. And you know, either which way, it gets interaction, and it's just something that happens now. You'll see it if you guys on YouTube are watching right now, and you're avid YouTube watchers, you'll see many a time a clickbait headline, you know what I mean? And you know, but it would be negative. This one has an argument with this one, you know, or like a Talk Sport. Sometimes Talk Sport will be like Simon Jordan dismisses Eddie Hearn the other day, and when I watched it, it wasn't even that. The majority of the time on the Eddie Hearn Simon Jordan interview, they were agreeing and they were going back and they were having a good. He disagreed on something, and that's where the kind of title came from. So it's used throughout now, and I think that there is something there about that when it comes down to opinions online that are just purely negative from any team. From any team and from any kind of work of life. If it's just continually just negative, then there might be a kind of an ulterior motive of why they're putting out that negativity. So we have to, as kind of as fans and as supporters, we've got to weed that out. We've got to not take every punch of salt that's thrown into the pot. You know, sometimes we've got to be like, no, that's too salty. I'm just going to leave that over there and carry on about your day, you know?
Ricky, we know that we'd have 10 times the viewers right now if you were shouting, swearing, jumping up and down, throwing objects. So away you go.
No, come on. But this is it. It's like, you know, it's not like Tottenham hasn't punched us in the gut, bro. We've been through it. We've spoken about the board, me and you, many a time, on many podcasts. We've spoken about direction. We've spoken about having a philosophy. We've spoken about, you know, when are these glory days coming? We've spoken about so many things. We've gone back and forth. It's not always been positive. And you know what? And how many times, and you can say it if you don't remember or if you don't, but you can say it, Chris. How many times have I come on here when I've been so upset and I'm criticizing it the whole way through the show? I've been criticizing, but you know what? I end up feeling worse at the end of it. Like I don't like slagging off my club. I don't like it. I don't like slagging off my players. I don't like slagging off my club. But I can be truthful about my club. I can be critical of what's happening and where we're going, and you know, and hope for better days.
Ricky, I will never understand if people ever enjoyed slagging the club off and slagging players off. You know, I'd just like to say that to the viewers and listeners again. You will never ever get that on this channel. So if that's what you want, then stay well clear away from this channel, because you'll never get that. We try and add a lot of balance, and as Ricky said, I don't know why we keep having to repeat ourselves about this. That, you know, we do discuss absolutely everything. There's nothing that we don't discuss on here to do with Tottenham Hotspur and the latest news and players that we could possibly be signing, players that we've signed, games, etc. We talk about absolutely everything, the good, bad, and the ugly, and hopefully the success in the future. That's what I can't wait to talk about. Perhaps I'll retire from this channel when we win a trophy, Ricky. How about that?
It's not going to happen, brother. It's not going to happen. We've got to be popping champagne when that happens. That's going to happen, mate. You can have 2 weeks off when we win the trophy, all right? You can have 2 weeks off.
Do you know what, Ricky? You always get such great comments here. Paul says Ricky cheers me up every time, and there's another comment here. Needed some Ricky J. Norwood positivity before a North London derby, and I've said this to you many times. You know, you're a great friend, you're a great guest on here, channel regular on here every single week, giving us positivity, and I absolutely love you for that.
Thank you, brother. I try. It's tough sometimes, but I try, man.
Still talking about Brennan Johnson, and I'm so sorry that I've kept you waiting. Sandeep says here, what goal and assist output would be considered progression for Brennan Johnson? Very, very good question. And I'm also going to say, Ricky, on this, when we recorded the Newcastle podcast straight after the game, I mentioned during that podcast that, you know, that point that you said about Ryan Mason, about geography of the pitch and getting that ball in to the 6-yard box. A lot of people have come out and said, oh, if we'd have had Mickey van der Ven, we wouldn't have conceded that second goal. Oh, if we'd have had Dominic Solanke, he would have scored today. I tell you what, if we'd have had Dominic Solanke that game, the chances are Brennan Johnson would have crossed directly into Dominic Solanke, and that could have been the winner. Now, that, I think, is a fair point.
Yeah, so how can we judge this team when we haven't seen this team? We haven't seen our starting 11. They haven't had a chance to go yet. You know, like we haven't had everybody where they need to be yet. We've had it for 5 minutes in the first game. Like, yeah. Let's go. Like, but there's been green shoots, even those that have come in between and stuff like that. There has been green shoots there. Like, I can't wait till all of them together. You know, and hopefully that's North London derby, bruv.
As Sandeep says there, what goal and assist output would you be happy with, Ricky? I suppose Ange Postecoglou is the type of guy, and he said this before, that he don't put numbers on anything. But surely Brennan Johnson, for his own happiness and progression in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt, should be scoring and should be assisting a lot more. Also, let's get your thoughts on the comments from Teddy Sheringham. Don't know whether he's a right winger, don't know whether he's centre forward. He is a very versatile player. Are you confident that we are going to see the very best out of him?
All right, so okay, let's go, Teddy. Let's go. Was it Sunday? Was it?
I know there are a lot of questions there.
I know there was a lot, right? Jeez. All right. Let's go back. Let's do Teddy first because I can remember that one. Okay, so if Teddy is unsure of his position, that's because so are we, really, because we've seen him as a right winger mostly, but he has switched to the left and assisted from the left. He has gone in behind and in the striker role. He is that type of versatile player. But I understand. I can't tell you the tone. Obviously, I haven't heard the tone in which Teddy has said this. But almost, if you know when they say jack of all trades but master of none. So maybe he's coming from that line of thinking and going, you need to nail down a position. You need to nail down a position in which, you know, you're effective. You know, your favorite position in which you're effective, and we can see the games and the performances that is deserved of your price tag and of your potential. So maybe I understand where he's coming from that angle, because it's true. Right now, we would say he's a right winger, but at the same time, he's played up front, and I'm sure he plays up front for Wales the majority of the time. Or he's played on the left for Notts Forest, and he's played on the left for us too. So there is that, but he has got to nail down. Well, no, I don't think he does. I don't think he has to, actually. I think that's one of the reasons that Ange has bought him, is to be comfortable in all positions, and that's part of the Ange ball rotation policy as well. You know, we've seen left backs go into number 10 positions. We've seen the number 10 drop into the DM position. We've seen strikers that are on the left and the right switch. So it's about being comfortable in all positions. And if we can get that type of Brennan Johnson that is comfortable and confident in all positions, then it's only going to be greatness for us. When it comes down to the stat element, you know, all right, I'll go backwards. When it comes down to the stat element, it's not so much for me right now about the end product stats. It's about being able to trust and rely on Brennan Johnson to do the job that the boss is asking him to do. So if that is to get down the wing and cross, that he does that and finds a man. If that's to beat a man, then he beats his man every single time he runs down that line. If that's to drop inside and convert to a number 10 and let Kulu go out to the right in certain moves, then I want him to be effective. I want him to be, you know, confident. And I want to be able to trust and rely on him. I want to see the team sheet and go, yes, Brennan's playing. I know that guy is going to make that left back you know what I mean, look like a clown out there today. He's going to make him look like Bambi on ice today. Watch. I want to have that energy about seeing his name on the team sheet, you know. So when it comes down to stats, if you really want a number, I'm going to guess, because I'm not really the stat guy, but I'm going to guess it was 13 and 9 last year. 13 goals, 9 assists. Was it last year? Do you know this, Chris?
I'll get back to you on that one.
All right. I'm gonna guess at that. If that was the case, it's still not too bad. But I'm gonna guess at like, I mean, on an average, 20 goals and assists involvements, you know. I think if he got 10 goals, 10 assists, that's not too bad, but that's quite average. If he was to get any above that, then he's had a really good season. So I would say if he betters his score from last year, fantastic. But I think what's more important, what numbers and data sheets and graphs can't tell you, is when that player is, you know, reliable, when he's trustworthy, when you're excited for him to be on the field, to go out there and do the job that we want him to do. When I have that, I don't care what the end number is going to be. I know that when Brennan's on the field, he's going to make something happen. And whether that's for himself or one of his teammates, he's going to make that happen.
Ricky, Brennan Johnson was involved in 35 Premier League games last year. He started 26, goals 5, assists 10. So hopefully he can improve on that this season.
Okay.
I don't know whether you saw this just before we came on air. Footy Headlines have just reported that Spurs will have a black away kit next season. Let's perhaps talk about your favourite kits, Ricky, over the years.
Oh, I mean,
and what do you make of this black kit?
I mean, it already looks kind of sexy, doesn't it? It already looks slick. That's actually the last black one that we had with a yellow stripe down the side. I think we had it for it was AIA white, and it had like 5 stripes down the middle going down into the belly. That was a sexy one. I've got one of my favorite shirts, most modern shirts, is our Champions League purple one, with the yellow down the sleeve. I've got my name on that. I've got the Champions League badge on that. I was like, one of those. I was like, you know what? Who knows what's going to happen with Tottenham, whether we're going to be in it again or whatever. I'm going all out. We're in the Champions League. I want the badge on. I had everything. I had everything going on that top. That's a gorgeous one. The old school Holston Adidas ones, I adore, and mostly because of Ginola, but it was just that team, and it was slick. I had the hoodies and the training tops, and they were all slick. But yeah, I mean, I love the Holston across the front, and that Adidas range, and that Kappa number that Ramon Vega wore. And I'm only joking.
Do you remember when he was talking about Pony?
That was it, Pony. It wasn't Kappa, it was Pony. Oh,
I know what you meant.
Oh, mate. Oh,
I'll tell you what, it's got to be the 1991 FA Cup shirt for me.
my dad's got that one.
The shirts that mean a lot to me is the ones that we've lifted trophies. So yeah, watch this space.
Come on.
Ricky, Dalgona Master writes here, Korean media are talking crazy about Heung-min Son not getting another contract. Can you address this? Now, of course, Heung-min Son is contracted until the end of the summer. Spurs apparently do have a 1-year option to extend it to 2026. Are you surprised that this hasn't been done or been announced yet about Heung-min Son staying at the club for another year? Would you like to see him at the club for another year, or is that a ridiculous question?
It is a ridiculous question. Firstly, of course, I love Sonny. I think he's got always something to offer, and especially Tottenham. I think, he loves us and we love him, and there's still greatness to come from him. I think there's another level coming for him. I think he's intelligent. He's football intelligence is gaining every single game and every single season, and I think that he's adapting to certain things, and he's loving life under Ange. So, do I want to say? Of course. First and foremost, of course. I think he leads the club and the boys with class and work rate and discipline as well. you know, he's always one of those that are last one on the field, first one out. You know, there's a lot of greatness in Sonny, and you know, we're very lucky to have him for the almost 10 years that we have had him. He's dynamite, and long may that continue. So, out of the way. Why hasn't the contract been done already? Like you said about the option, so they might just trigger the option, but I think it's more to do with respect for Sonny. It's almost like the same way that we was with Hugo Lloris, with the long servers, Dyer, even Kate. Like, I think there's almost like just a little bit of respect, maybe, that there's a little bit of respect there that kind of goes, well, we'll trigger it, but like, we're going to speak to Sonny and see what he wants to do. We already know that those Saudi offers have been kind of ruminating on the table for a while. I don't think he should go as yet, but I think that option will be there for him when and if he's ready. You know, I don't think it's going away. So, but they might be on the table. There might be certain things that are on the table, or he might be at that stage where I don't even want to say it, you know, but he wants to go other places to lift other things. Do you know what I mean?
Well, he said recently, Ricky, that he doesn't consider himself as a Spurs legend because he hasn't lifted a trophy.
Well, this is it. And I really believe in him, bro. Like, I just believe in Sonny. I believe in him. And I believe if that's what he wants, then he's going to go and get it. I think it's all coming together right now. That ship was the Titanic for a while, and Sonny signed a new deal then. That's what means more. When Harry Kane was on the verge of leaving the club as the club's golden boy against Man City, couldn't play because he, you know, # wasn't ready. What did Sonny do? Sonny signed that contract. Whether Harry was going to be there or not, he signed that contract because he loved us and he was going to go, do you know what? I'll stand up for you. I'll take the burden. How many times has he taken the burden on his shoulders? And this is why when it comes down to being disrespectful to Sonny, I'm like, you got to remember how many times he takes it on his shoulders. He does take the game by the scruff of the neck. Does he have a dip? You know, when we look at certain games, do the opposition double up on him, triple up on him? Yeah. You know, there's you know, he's not always going to be 100%, you know, 10 out of 10, foot down, floor, and in gear fight. It's not always going to happen, but he has always been there to be relied upon. He has always been there to carry that burden or to carry the pressure or the responsibility on his shoulders and drive us forward. So, you know, I'm always one for Son to stay. Is it sentimental? Yeah, but I don't care. Is it on ability and output? Yeah, I do believe so. It comes from my opinion. I believe so. But is it emotional as well? Yeah. And I really don't care about that. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to back Sonny.
Yeah.
I think it's out of respect almost.
I know it was strange when Harry Kane left, but I tell you what, that is going to be a very, very strange time when Heung-min Son eventually leaves Spurs. It's great doing these shows because there are a whole range of mixed opinions here. Checkmate 734 says he's right. He isn't a Spurs legend. TSOM then says he is and will always be a Spurs legend. Ricky, do you have to win a trophy at a football club to be a legend?
No, I mean, obviously not. We've got many legends that come back to the lane that we love and adore that haven't lifted silverware. You know, so there are fan favorites. There are legends that done certain things for us that maybe, you know, that kept us in the league or that got us into the Champions League at that point. They might not have lifted that trophy, but they got us there, and they're a legend for it. You know, Jermaine Defoe is a legend to me. The amount of goals that he scored, him being an East London boy, you know, what he done, how he conducted himself. He scored 5 in one game, you know, but he's a legend to me. So technically, you don't have to lift silverware to be a legend. You know, Harry Kane will always be a legend, you know. So technically no, but I love that Son's ambition is to be considered a great and to be considered a legend and to sit with those legends that have won trophies. he wants to lift one for Tottenham. I think that's a different level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a different level of legend that he's aspiring for. And I think that that's exciting.
Paul Stoney writes here, I really hope that we stick with Ange Postecoglou. I know the high line, etc., but there has been a team that has gone, transferred so many players in these windows. It is going to take a while. Paul, I think that Ricky and I have echoed your thoughts already on this podcast and on previous ones. Leon writes here, Arsenal are going to ruin us. And Chris Patterson says, Ange will get it wrong. Ricky, I know that you and I have spoken about this at length before, and I don't want to go down the whole, why are some fans so negative, and there's been a lot of frustration about when certain people say, oh, we need time and patience, and a lot of people, including some viewers and listeners in the comments tonight, have said, well, how long do we keep saying about time and patience? But what do you say to the people who are frustrated at the moment? Do you understand that frustration? Because the way that I see it is that, yes, we're all frustrated of what has happened in the past. You mentioned Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho earlier. We brought in two win now managers. It didn't quite work out. We sacked Jose Mourinho 6 days before a final. We've gone down the route of signing, big name players for lots of money, Lo Celso and Ndombele, to name two. Didn't work out. But how important is it that the time and patience and tools are given to Ange Postecoglou? Because I get everyone's frustration, but he hasn't been at the club for that long. Isn't it about getting behind him rather than feeling frustrated about the past?
Yeah, listen, I totally get the frustration. I totally get where it comes from. It's easy to say that they're going to batter us and we're going to concede 5 with the high line and it will go wrong because it's happened. It's happened before in the past. It has crashed and burned. When it comes down to Ange in this new system and this new way and this new journey that we're on, we've almost got to look at it like a new book. It's a new book. It's not a chapter of the same book that's been going the last 20 years. It's a new book. And that's where the time and patience comes from. He's doing so much for this club in turning it around and playing a style of football that, again, I'll say it again, if it was dropped in at Man City or Liverpool, and they had all of the things that he needed in place, everybody would be lauding Ange Postecoglou right now and going absolutely nutty and going, he's the new Messiah, and Real Madrid want him next. That's where we would be at, right? Right now, he's clean the slate. He's got a lot more elements of what he needs in a team. It's still not there yet. We've got young ones and we've got development. And we've got some experienced pros in there as well that we need more out of. And they all seem to be on the same page right now, And then from this is a great foundation to build on as well, with a guy that I really do believe in my stomach that following him is going to lead to success, and the best success that we can get. Remember, I was talking about the managers earlier and Slot denying us and stuff like that. Like, we was at a bad time in between, and we always mess it out, and I always erase it from my memory. But in between Mourinho and Conte, we went for Nuno.
Who?
Exactly. Exactly. No disrespect, but there's no way that we should have been looking in that direction. When we was looking in Ange's direction, we was looking at Xabi Alonso, who at that time, this is before his unbeaten season, at that time I was like, oh, he might be a bit green, he might be a bit raw, he's done well, I can see. But we were going for managers that are playing this style of football, that are front-footed, that are, that are an attacking team, that come with flair. So we were looking at the right type of managers, and then Ange is the man. And not only is he the man because of his style of football, but because of how much that he's seen in his life as well. He's dealt with players from all around the world, all ages. He has probably seen it all, dealt with it all. He's done it. Do you know what I mean? And this is a great place right now where these two elements have come together to kind of make a whole right now. Tottenham were empty. We had no soul. Do you know what I mean? We had no direction. before he came in, and like Ange has come in to almost complete us. But it is going to take a little bit of time. That's why we've got to look at it as a new book. Give him a fresh start, like back him. And that's another thing when it comes down to backing the manager. We, all of us have said it from a fan perspective, talking about funds and transfers and back the man. But we as supporters have to back the manager in success, in a draw, and in failure. There's been enough to see where he's going. There's been enough to believe, from my point of view, there's been enough to believe in what he's saying and where he wants to go. So I don't know who else we're going to get. I don't know who else is going to give us a 38 unbeaten season and we win all the trophies because we deserve it, because we haven't had nothing for 20 odd years. Do you know what I mean? I don't know who that guy is, but this guy is going to get us close, and I really kind of believe that.
Well, interestingly, how you say that, Luke C says here, I'm sick of tired of us changing managers. It's getting on my nerves, to be honest. Give Ange a lot more good things. Give Ange a lot more time. Good things are coming.
Yep. I've got to change my battery in my bulb. So you crack on. Give me.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry to be disrespectful. It was only a joke about Nuno Espirito Santo. Of course, he got off to a great start at Spurs. Won Manager of the Month. Won his first 3 Premier League games at Tottenham Hotspur. But of course, that Manchester United home game that was dubbed as El Sacchio, him against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Of course, they beat us 3-0. He took, I think it was Lucas Moura off at the time, who was our best player. And, of course, the Spurs fans started singing, You Don't Know What You're Doing. And that was a real bad wow moment for me at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But, of course, more changes at Tottenham Hotspur, and the manager merry-go-round carried on. But, of course, as we've been talking about, for the past 14 months or so, Ange Postecoglou being at the club, I just want to see him backed in every single transfer window. And of course, the planning is now starting for January 2025. And let's hope that Ange Postecoglou is backed again. Michelle Gain writes here, just want to play again. I'm bored. I tell you what, Ricky, if we were sitting here 3 wins out of 3, we'd say, come on, we want to play again. Having sat here with 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss, we're still saying, come on, we want to play again. And if we'd be sitting here with 3 defeats out of 3, we'd still be saying, we want to play again, come on. So what do you make of the international breaks?
Oh, it does my nutting sometimes. It gives me a little bit of a break, really. But it does my nutting sometimes. I'm just like, we've just started. We're only 3 games in. What, an international break? Oh, do me a favor. Do you know what I mean? So
3 games in, yeah.
Yeah, it's like we just had the Euros. I'm like, give them a break, So yeah, it does do my nutting a little bit, but and I miss Tottenham more than anything. But yeah, I mean, with the North London derby coming up. It gives us a little time to build that tension, gives us a little time to build the excitement and to talk about all the different permeations of formations and personnel that are going to be playing, and like, it's exciting. I mean, I literally, I'm ready for it. What a way to kick this next section of games off with a North London derby, man. Like, and they're all going to be ready for it as well, man. And I just can't wait already. I can't wait already. And even that the comment that was like, the Gooners were going to do us, or whatever that comment was. Like, what if we do them? What if we're their kryptonite? And I know, I'm that positive guy. Okay, cool. But like, what if? Come on. Like,
do you know what, Ricky? Whatever anyone feels, that atmosphere on Sunday afternoon needs to be absolutely electric. I tell you what, a couple of years ago under Antonio Conte, when we thrashed them 3-0 that night and Holding was sent off, that is exactly what we need on Sunday. And I think that, they often say about the 12th man. It is definitely the case on Sunday. The passion, I want to see the tackles flying in, and I want to see the passion. And of course, we want to see the ball hit that net a couple of times and get the 3 points against our North London rivals. Sandeep Kumar writes here, Chris, please say the trophies are coming once on this podcast. I tell you what, That used to be a phrase that I used a lot at the end of the podcast. The trophies are coming. I genuinely felt when we appointed Jose Mourinho that the trophies were coming. I genuinely thought when we appointed Antonio Conte, the trophies are coming. I'm not quite there with Ange Postecoglou yet. I still think that there is a lot of work to do. I know a lot of people say about, me being a happy clapper. I'm not at that stage where I'm saying that the trophies are coming under Ange, because I think he's done a lot of great work at the football club in the last 14 months that I've said, a whole host of times, but I still think there is a lot more work to do. Cole Jeffries, and Cole, thank you so much for all of your comments and input on this podcast. I notice your name pop up all of the time, so thank you. Ricky, Cole writes here, I'm so happy to be a Tottenham fan and can't wait for the next game. Will Dominic Solanke be back for this game? Cole, we certainly hope so. From what we hear from Ange Postecoglou, he should be fit and available for this game. Ricky, how important is it going to be that Dominic Solanke is in the centre, up front, playing for Spurs? And I tell you what, wouldn't it be fantastic that he gets his first goal, dare I say it, against Arsenal?
Well, I mean, the script is beginning to be written, right? You can see it. I think that Dom is going to make sure that he's playing that game.
I've got goosebumps saying that.
See, this is what I'm saying. See, that's the joy that comes from your team, man. Like when you get that is gorgeous, man. That is fantastic. That's what we live for. But yeah, I think he's going to be doing everything possible to be out there on that pitch. I think he knows that it's a great moment. It's a great way to lay a marker down as a Tottenham player, to become a hero. Like I said, to get everybody excited, to put away those chances that he hasn't been available to take. I'm sure that's frustrated him as well. He's hungry to be that player. So to be able to go out there and do it against them lot down the road, oh my gosh, that could be the sweetest. That could be the sweetest. But yeah, I believe that he's going to do everything possible. They didn't even put him on the bench against Newcastle, didn't they? So that was in preparation of saving him for this game. He'll be there. He'll be ready, and he's gonna be firing. He's gonna do it, bruv. He's gonna do it. He's gonna lay a marker down against them lot, and I can't wait for it.
Let's certainly hope so. Knee slide over by the south stand. 91st minute winner, perhaps. I don't know. Let's wait and see. Nathan Newman writes here, the team feels more like it's building for a few years down the road rather than right now. I tell you what, Ricky, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I've said that I feel that Spurs should have done a little bit more business in the transfer window, i.e. a couple more experienced players. Other than that, I know we've spoken about it a lot and we don't want to keep repeating ourselves, that Ange Postecoglou has been so ruthless in offloading so many players in the last 14 months. It is very, very clear that if he wasn't going to be fitting Ange's system, then Spurs have offloaded them. And I love the way that he has been so ruthless. But in terms of incomings, I do get what Nathan says here about it's building for a few years down the road, because we've brought in these youngsters and we're identifying all of these top talented players. How confident are you that perhaps we'll get a couple of experienced players in January?
Well, I don't know. I think that Dom Solanke is an experienced player, right? So he's played in the Premier League for a long time. He's been at a couple of high-profile clubs, so he's seen it. He's had a dip and had to build himself back up. So we've brought in an experienced player up front for the first team. I totally agree with you that we should have done more. Are we going to bring any more experienced players in? I don't know is the answer that I'm kind of struggling with. I know that we are light at left back at the very least, if not defense, and we all know this, left centre back, but definitely left back. I love Udogie. I think he is the man. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's going to be like one of the best left backs in the world in a not too distant future. I think he's got everything going for him: power, pace, technique, passing, crossing, shooting, heading. He's got it all. He really does. And that injury that he got last year, it really changed everything about the way we play. So I don't know whether we would get an experienced left back to to challenge that position and to be cover at the same time, but to challenge him for it. My guess would be that it would be another young one of around the same age, so that they are competing with each other, pushing each other, but there's a bit of, you know, understanding there as well. That U-Dog is the number one. Do you know what I mean? So I think they would go that way. I'm with you. I really thought that they would have done an experienced winger. So I would have thought they would have gone to experience in that upfront point. But I look at the excitement of the youth element in this team. You know, when you look at Yamal that was playing for Spain in the Euros, and how much excitement that he's brought, and how much excitement he brought to Barcelona at that time. And he's obviously had dips as well during those moments, because he is a young 16-year-old, nearly 17, I think now. Oh yeah, 17 now. But he brought a lot of excitement, and there was and he was ready for it as well. And we've got young Mikey Moore in there who could do something very, very similar. But again, it's about supporting him through that. You can't put too much pressure on him. But that might be the exciting element that comes off the bench, that gives us something different, that gives us some improvisation, that gives us some way to change the game. You know, we can all taste it and smell it from Bergvall right now. You can see it. Like, there's greatness in that player right there. Is it going to take a little bit of time for him to reach his maximum peak? Yeah, of course. But don't think that we're not going to go for glory and go for greatness in the meantime. You know, because it's about that attitude set. It's, can you do it now? The same way that Wayne Rooney done it, the same way that Michael Owen done it, the same way that Yamal at Barcelona's doing it. You know, is that he's going to put it to not just the 16-year-old, but the 18-year-old, and then the 20-year-old, and then the 23-year-old. Like, so what we got here. And I think that's exciting as well. Yes, they're going to bump. They're going to bump their toe along the way, but I think it's exciting because these guys are going to come out there and be able to express themselves at that age. I think it's going to be massive for not only now, but the future coming.
Ricky DL writes here, Chris and Ricky, what is your favourite North London derby? I tell you what, whenever I think of the North London derby, I think of the Gaza free kick. I also think of the Harry Kane goal when he ran over to the crowd and took those goggles off. It was just such a wonderful, wonderful moment. And I remember that when he scored that goal, I literally hugged everyone around me, including this very posh guy behind me. And he actually said, calm down, calm down. It's the North London derby. It was incredible. Ricky, what about you?
I don't know. Do you know what? This game is such a killer. Because the whole way I'm doing calm down. So even when we're playing great, I'm like, all right, cool, we're 1-0 up, but you've got to keep calm because anything can happen and then it'd be 1-1. They've always been back and forth basketball games. You never know what's going to happen. But obviously the wins sit higher in the estimation. But it's mostly like the goals, bro. It's like Delhi's goal was being played on X recently. They've been replaying that goal where Kane gives him the ball over the top and he just takes a touch and then dinks it. Like, what a goal. You know, Bentley's goal from the halfway line, you know. Danny Rose's goal against them. Yeah. They're always special, bro. They're always special. And the amount that Harry scored against them as well. I love that for the first time, not just with Harry, like, and scoring those goals and you know, giving us those wins. But we had so many dodgy players from them lot. You know, we had Mark Overmars and Perez that always used to score against us. You know, always. There was always somebody in that side that was a bogeyman for us. And for once in a long time, we had one that was theirs. Do you know what I mean? Every time Harry played, he would score against them near enough, you know, and he'd have a fantastic, you couldn't count us out with him in the side. So it's been more of those moments in recent history that I've just loved. Because I grew up with, like, you know, that banter from the Gooners, and the Tottenham team wasn't that great at that time when I was growing up. There was a lot of banter going on, you know. So to be on the other side of it, that was just, you know, there's some beautiful moments there, man. Beautiful moments.
Yeah. Definitely my favourite memory at the Emirates, the Delhi goal.
Oh,
yeah,
mate.
unbelievable. Yeah.
Oh.
Paul Hill writes here, I feel it's going to be an up and down season. And the reason why I've included that one in here, Paul, is because you are normally a very, very positive Spurs fan on here. I do agree. I think we are going to have a lot of ups. We are going to have a lot of downs. And Postecoglou's come out and said that already. There's going to be a lot of potholes, but of course we've got to, ride the waves in a way, and hopefully success is round the corner if given the tools in transfer windows in the future. There's no name on this one. All I can read out is Android VK8YH. It says, "Why was 30 million euros a sticking block for a left back that we need?" And this is talking about Patrick Dorgu, the Lecce left back. Ricky. You mentioned Udogie a couple of minutes ago. Now, the Europa League squad has been announced. No Jed Spence, who has played at left back, during pre-season. So it means that Van der Ven and Davis will be covering for Udogie if he doesn't play. Are you surprised that Spurs didn't strengthen in the area in the summer window?
Massively surprised, and that's what kind of disappointed me coming towards the end of the transfer window when I knew that was going to happen. Dorgu's a good player, a really good player, somebody right age, right profile. Again, somebody who's done really well for Lecce. And 30 million euros is not a lot, especially when we've spent especially when we've received the Emerson Royal money. We've got that little bit of money from Lo Celso. We've got funds coming in. So I know that we wanted to get rid of Reguilon, or Reguilon was on the chopping block, basically. But I don't think it's an excuse to go we want to get rid of that left back so that we can buy this left back. If you've made it clear to Reggie that he's not going to be a part of the plans, regardless, then spend your money on that left back so that your squad is balanced going into it. When it comes down to Jed Spence not being in that squad, bro, that broke me, if I'm honest. I'm like, it's almost a criminal decision, the way that I feel about it right now. Because the fact that we don't have a recognised left back, I mean, I know Davies, but somebody who's going to give us the same, or if not close, to what Udogie brings to the team when he plays. The fact that Spence ain't there, it did wind me up a little bit. I am kind of shocked by that decision. You've just given us.
I was going to ask Ricky, when Postecoglou has given Brandon Austin chances in games such as the Australia game that I went to at the end of May in Melbourne, and of course the pre-season, he's given him opportunities. Would he not feel comfortable with Brandon Austin being the backup goalkeeper in these 8 Europa League games to then put Jed Spence in? Is it a bit of a weird decision for you?
It's exactly how I feel about it, mate. It's exactly how I feel about it. Austin and Whiteman have been at the club for so long, but Austin's been there for a long time. You've given him all those games during pre-season, just as you said. You've just given him a 5-year deal as well. So you must have given him some type of hope that he can at least be the number 2 or fight for a number 1 spot or whatever the case may be. So I believed in those 8 games that, okay, cool. Well, Austin's going to be the number 2. You take Forster out. Jed Spence is there for right back and left back cover. All right, Mickey van der Ven and Davies are going to be there. But what about the right back cover now? You know what I mean? All right, cool, Archie Gray. Okay, fine. But do you know what I mean? It's like Spence, what really... I'm loving the redemption of Spence, first and foremost. I've wanted him... we've all wanted him to be playing and kind of to see that player, because we saw glimpses of it. And I'm just happy that he's at the club, and I'm happy he's getting his moment. But in those games, that was part of his moment, is what I felt, as right back and left back cover. And the way that he plays, he's so effective. He's the way that he runs in an inverted fullback way. He's dangerous. He likes it. He's comfortable in midfield. He's comfortable driving forward. He likes to make something happen. He loves an overlap run. He loves to take on a man. He can cross. He can shoot. He loves to score. He enjoys scoring. He has played left back at Leeds and at Genoa last year as well. There are moments that he's played in that left back role. I feel he's more effective on the right, but he can do it. So I'm just upset for him that he's not there, because it would have been perfect opportunity to maybe give a Porro a rest when it comes down to that game, or a Udogie a rest, you know, even if it's on the bench. Do you know what I mean? Oh, so it just, I feel like it almost limits our options. Dropping
Ricky, I want to try and play devil's advocate here. Do you think that perhaps it's another little bit of a test for Jed Spence to see how he reacts to not being in that squad?
Do you know what? Yeah, because it is. Fundamentally, it is a test right now. It is all about how he reacts to this, to that news, and what other things they've said to Jed after that moment. You know, are they going to be looking at him more? Yeah, they said, look, we can't do this because of A, B, and C, but once we get to January, we're going to rectify the
Yes.
squad spots, and you're going to be in there for the knockouts, Jed. Like we'll like Carabao and FA Cup. Look, bruv, we're going to give that to you. You can have that when it comes down to it, as long as you keep your head up and you keep working hard in training, you keep doing what the boss wants. We'll give you Carabao and FA Cup to begin with up until January. We'll get through this group. We'll rectify the whole squad scenario, and you'll be in there for the knockouts, for the big games, Jed, when we're going to need you, the business end of things. That's what. So it is going to be a test. It is a test right now, regardless of who says it is or not. It is, and I really hope that Jed reacts in the right way and in a positive way that just puts him in the right light, you know. And then when he gets his spot, and we're all kind of, you know, clamoring and arguing about, why didn't we put Spence in the Euro squad? We needed Spence in the Euro, you know, in those 8. Like, that's where I want us to get to, because he's done so well in a cup game, or he's done so well coming off the bench, that why wouldn't we have him there? You know, I want to have that argument a bit later for Jed, and then obviously get through and then get him back in that squad come January.
Smoked 5L says here, go home supercomputer, you're drunk. This is referring to one of my 60-second updates put out the other day, that the supercomputer has predicted that Spurs will finish 11th in the Europa League itself, and Porto winning it. So if Spurs did finish 11th, it means that we would have to go into a playoff game to then try and go through to the last or the next phase. Let's go on to this one now. Blast off to Moon. I tell you, there's some funny. There are some funny names here. Bissouma is going to kill it this season. Now, Ricky, I think this is a great point from Blast off to the Moon, because Bissouma had a difficult time under Antonio Conte in terms of game time. Then, of course, last season played really well those opening 10 games. Got that sending off against Luton. When do you think that we are going to see the Bissouma on a consistent level that we saw in the Premier League at Brighton?
I really hope it's now. I think that Ange probably sees him as the perfect style of number 6 for him. Someone who's very energetic. Think like N'Golo Kante sort of player. You know, somebody who's very kind of quick, covers ground, but dribbles and drives the ball forward and looks for a 1-2, looks to create chaos, looks to have a shot from the edge of the box. I think for Ange, I think he sees Bissouma as that guy, but there's been inconsistencies. There's been some disciplinary things. And when I say disciplinary, I don't mean like school. I mean like, maybe, you know, he's turned up late to a meeting or something like that. I don't know what it was. I know it's in the back of my head somewhere from all of the reports, but I can't specify it right now. So there have been many of those moments, but with this last moment that happened, you know, I think it was a massive wake-up call for Bissouma. Ange dropped him. He publicly kind of punished him, you know, in the press conference, spoke about his punishment, spoke about him. Even when the reporter asked, how does he get back into the squad? His response was discipline, wasn't it? You know, it's response, it's responsibility. It's what you do out there. If we think about, even there was that joke in pre-season, I want to say it was the QPR game where he scored.
Yep.
Bissouma scored, and then Ange walks behind him and goes, "It's only a friendly, mate." Right? Now that was funny. But if we think about what seed he's planting there, you know what I mean? it's just a friendly, bruv. Show me when it comes down to the real job, when it comes down to the business, when I need you there, like, can you do it then? You know, so the whole balloon thing happened. He got suspended. He got publicly kind of outed at that point. He came back with we heard from Ange that he came back with the sorries, and he came back like a kid scolded at school, and came back, and every single day he was at every meeting 15 minutes early, doing every drill and trying to show that type of attitude. And I think that he probably had a massive wake-up call. I think he had a massive shake to his system, that and it shows you how much he actually loves football as well, because of the reaction. But you know, you could be pushed to the side. You could be out in January. You know, do you want to be a part of this? I trusted you. You know, I think that Bissouma knows that Ange is the type of manager for him too, to go out there and express himself and be free with the way that he plays, sort of thing. With still discipline traits, but to mostly be free. So I think it's a massive thing, reaction that he had when he had to start the next game after Bentancur's had, you know, potential concussion. So he's out for that game. And Bissouma starts and has a fantastic, especially first half, he has a fantastic game, scores as well, says sorry how many times, not to only the fans, but to his teammates, and then ran up and gave Ange a little cuddle as well and said sorry to him. Massive public show of genuine, I'm sorry. It wasn't for the cameras, because you could see it within his body language. He didn't rehearse it in his head. Everything just came out, and it was just natural. He didn't know what to do. He was like, sorry, and then he bowed, and but it was all natural movement. So it wasn't preordained. It wasn't pre-thought about. He genuinely showed everybody how sorry he was. Now, what everybody wants to see, us fans, the boss, and the players on the field, is that type of reaction in every game. So I'm hoping that that's the biggest wake-up call that he's needed for him to get himself in order and to be the player that we all want him to be at Spurs, you know, and the player that he wants to be at Spurs. So my bet is that this is going to be the season.
Well, another player we'll talk about, Rodrigo Bentancur. Chris and Rick, will Rodrigo Bentancur get back to the form he showed before the serious injury? Also, this is a make or break season for, is that Kulusevski, I think?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Would love to know both your thoughts on this. It's interesting because I think we've had a lot of comments as well saying about Ange Postecoglou don't know his best midfield or best midfield trio. I think, Ricky, it was about it was late 20s. I think it was about 26, 27 different midfield combinations last season. Because when you think about all of the injuries we had, all of the suspensions, other issues, international duty, etc., do you think Ange Postecoglou knows his preferred three? I know, of course, you've got a squad and you've got to use all of your players, but if there was such an important game like a cup final and you had to choose your best three, trio of midfield, who would it be? Who is it for you?
I think Ange looks at it differently, bro. And you know, when they say that Ange doesn't adapt or he doesn't tweak or he doesn't have a plan B, a lot of his plan Bs come from personnel. It's with the same fundamentals, but different personnel bring different attributes to the field. So that's why he will rotate his midfield tactically, as well as, yes, we've seen because of injury and suspension, and you know, the fact that he's not really had his number one midfield out there to see what it was like. I remember last year, I think we just got Bentancur back, and then 2 weeks later he was out again. So yeah, this is the new season, and he's trying that new midfield combos. But I think he does that firstly tactically to go up against the side that we're playing against.
But if that is the case, are you a fan of that constant change? Because, you know, back in the day, you would never change a winning side, would you?
Yeah, no, you wouldn't. But that's what options give you, bro, and that's what you want a manager to do. You want him to be, reacting and adapting your style of play for the different challenges that are in front of you. If you're playing Stoke, and I don't mean no disrespect to Stoke City, but I know they always get used as this, don't they? They always get used as this example.
Coventry.
No, do you know what I mean? No. But like, if you're Stoke and you put all the men behind the ball and you're playing part the bus, well, that's a different style of game that you've got to play. Now you've got to try and draw them out of position to try and create space, to try and get shots off within the box or go for long shots, etc., etc. That's been part of the trouble that we've had breaking down low blocks, etc. You know, if you're going up against a free-flowing side, a high line side, okay, well, they've got the same vulnerabilities that we have. Now it's about how we adapt and which players we put in that can get us that final ball or that can get us that final pass to get us past these players and to be scoring past them instead of them scoring past us. So, you know, back in the day, it was that way. And I totally get it. But this is a new school. This is the new school and things are changing. And we've got to change and adapt with it. I think it's a good sign because it's something that Andrew's got criticised about because, you know, everyone thinks that Ange just throws everybody forward and hopes for the best. There is so much more to his game and to his tactics and to his philosophy and to the way of playing.
Yeah.
Than just kind of get in there, get the cross in. There's so much more to it. And we haven't seen a consistent sample size. The best thing that we've had is those 10 games. And it wasn't even up to speed then. It wasn't even clicking then. You know, there was a messed up preseason. You know, games cancelled. You was there, bruv, that preseason.
I was going to say that, Ricky. Can you imagine, right? Or you tell me how many games under Ange Postecoglou have we had a fully fit squad, available squad? You know, either players being out injured, suspensions, international duty, etc. Ange said, you know, last season so many times there have been so many disruptions. He is absolutely right.
Right. So 101 disruptions, plus Harry Kane leaving on the eve of the Premier League start.
Yes.
So, you know, like he's doing a lot right now. Andrew's doing a lot. We haven't been able to see we haven't got to the top of the mountain to see the pinnacle of what Ange Ball can become. Like you said earlier in the show, we've just bought a forward. How many times, like all of us fans. Yeah. But how many times has the boss said the most weakest part, and even during those 10 games that we was unbeaten, the most weakest part of this game is in the final third. If you Google that, I'm sure he said it 150 times.
Yeah.
We get a striker who hasn't been injured, who plays games, and 1 week in, 5 minutes in, he's out for 2 games. You know, like it's almost like the Tottenham luck. We can't have nice things. Do you know what I mean? But when these boys, you know, come out fit, firing and ready, when we do start to get that momentum, when we do start to click, like the gentleman said earlier, like, can't you see it? Can't you feel it a little bit? This could be like next level. Like it could be next level football. It could be next level. You know, if we see Bergvall in his final form, my gosh, what player is that player going to be? If we see Archie Gray and he's like, what is that? And we're going to see their journey. And yes, they're going to bump along the way. But like, come on, you can see that this is the man that is taking them to the right place and to the promised land. Like it's there. It's there for me. That's why I'm like, I want him to stay. I'm going to go through the hard times with Ange and through that criticism of Ange, which will be justified at the time. I'm going to go through it with him because I've seen more about what's to come. And I'm excited about that than the negatives. I know what the negatives are going to be. I know what the bumps are going to be. And I'm at this point, I'm preparing myself for it and I'm okay with it. But the greatness and the glory, that's what I'm excited about. And that's what I can't wait to see what Ange Ball is in its final form.
Yeah, I'm preparing for a couple of comments on this podcast saying that we're probably making excuses about, you know, that's, about injuries, suspensions or whatever. But it is factual. That is a fact. Exactly. Calvin Coft writes here, North London derby awaiting the influence of Dejan Kulusevski. What have you made of Kulusevski so far, Ricky? Because in the opening 3 games of this Premier League season, he's only had 2 shots, which is quite surprising to a lot of people.
I think Kulu's going to be, I think, again, he's another one that we haven't seen the best from, but I love Kulu to bits. I really think that he's in the position that he's going to, like, really explode in. I think this advanced 8/10 role alongside Maddison when we're going for it, I think it could be really dangerous, and I think that it could be the making of Cooley. We know what impact he had when he first turned up. And we all appreciated it. We all sang his songs during that time. He had a little dip again, you know, and he, you know, last year a lot of us said, me included, a lot of us said we could read where he was going to go when playing out on the right wing, but he still got crosses in there. He still got assists, and he still scored from that position. I remember in one game, he would have got an extra 4 assists if Richarlison could have scored against Luton. I want to say it was Luton. I'm not sure, but I think it was. There were 4. And I can't believe he didn't score 1, let alone all 4, because they was all on a plate. They was all on a plate. Cooley put it on a plate for him. When we've seen him in pre-season in that advanced 9-10 role stroke, you know, that advanced attacking midfielder at times in pre-season, he's flicks, tricks, he's chaos. That's when both feet come into play. You don't know which way he's jinking, which way he's going. He rolls a challenge as well. So he's big and strong. He doesn't mind a fight. He loves a fight, in fact. But he does this move where he can back into a player. And as the ball hits him, he almost like takes the ball and uses the player, rolls off of him, and then gets going forward. And then suddenly there's space. He's also one with vision that it likes a 1-2 or likes a sneaky, risky pass. That's what happens with risky passes. They're a risk, you know, but like predictable pass is going to be read regardless. So it's better you take the risk than go for the safety sometimes. And Cooley's that guy. I think this season's going to be amazing for him. He's another young one that's got a fantastic engine and that's got fantastic ambition. And I think he's got a friend now in Bergvall. You know, he's almost become a mentor now to him. So there's going to be a different level of responsibility, and there's going to be different levels of performance that he shows on the training pitch, in the game, on the bench, around the club and around the ground. So I think even that's going to push him. He's just become a dad as well. So there's loads of things that are kind of giving him motivation and giving him like ambition to look for the future and to achieve goals. And I really do believe he's going to do it. I really do. I think he's dynamite. We haven't seen the best of him yet, but he's just gone into this position. Give him a bit of time in this team, and we won't be talking about Eze at the end of the season. That was a bold statement, wasn't it? I didn't know whether to say it or not. I'm going to say it. I don't care. Come on, Cooley.
Wow.
I know. I'm going to say it.
Norm 65 says Kulusevski has physical strength, great asset. And there's another comment here. This is exactly how it can be so different. And this is why we love doing these shows, the difference of opinions, one-dimensional player. User SY says here, we'll win against Arsenal as long as we have Van de Ven and Solanke playing. It is guaranteed. Delhi 2026, feeling apprehensive about the North London derby. Daniel Turner writes here, worst signing of the summer, Timo Werner on loan. Ricky, I think it's fair to say that as the years go by, there always seems to be players that are criticised more than others. Ben Davies has had his fair share. Eric Dyer, Højbjerg, who's another one? Emerson Royale. Well, 3 out of those 4 I've named have gone out the door. Yeah. The ones that are probably being highly criticised at the moment is Brennan Johnson and Timo Werner. I've said on this channel so many times that I thought it was a very clever piece of business in the January transfer window to sign him on loan. However, I'm struggling with us signing him again on loan for another season, because I've said this before. I think where my opinion changed of him was that Newcastle away game last season when we were so heavily beaten. He missed some good chances. He should have done so much better in that final third. He's a frustrating player. I hope that Ange Postecoglou gets the best out of every single player, improves every single player. How hopeful are you, realistically, that Ange Postecoglou can get the very best out of Timo Werner? And when I've looked at Timo Werner's stats, 25% crosses, crosses, completely crosses, 25%. That is not good enough. Are you confident that he can get the best out of Werner?
The thing with Timo was when you was asking me most weeks whether we should sign him on a permanent last year, My response was always the same, which was I want him to earn it. I want him to put a marker down. I want him to show up against Chelsea or the Gooners and totally destroy them and earn that contract.
And did he earn it for you?
He didn't, because he ended up getting injured in those last 10 games. And unfortunately for him, he missed those big games. He missed those big chances. And to be fair, to the end of last season, there was an element of our game, because we were so decimated, there was an element of our game that missed Timo running in and doing those crosses. There was another moment of adaptation at that point last season. So okay, we've gone in, and then the question then becomes on the pods, like, should we sign him? Now again, my response was, I understand the deal, it is quote unquote good business, but my objection comes from it. Does that stop us signing the player that we really want to sign? Does that block a European spot, which it ends up becoming that? Do you know what I mean? Like, Werner being there ends up blocking Spence right now. So does it block a European spot? Does it? Because we always have these issues with the European spots and the squad dramas. We've always got squad dramas. So those were my objections. And then he's come in. We've got Odobert, and we don't know what's to come from Odobert. He's a very exciting, again, silky, pacey player. So we don't know what's going to come from him. But the experienced winger that we end up bringing back in is Timo. And, Timo's got a massive... I mean, I got a feeling by Christmas he won't even be picked off the bench, bro. I don't even know if he makes the bench by the end of the season. With the likes of Odobert and Mikey Moore and Sonny being able to switch, and Richarlison being able to switch too. There might be a point we get to December, January, and he's not even on the bench. I hope for him it all comes together at some point. But my like, I don't have that kind of that trust in him. When he's come on in these games, I haven't been like, okay, Timo's on, something's gonna happen. I've kind of been like, okay, let's see what happens. And there hasn't really been many moments for me to stand up and back him and say, it's a great loan signing, or it's a great potential signing next year. There hasn't been too many moments for me to kind of say that about him. But if anybody can, Ange can, and there was a reason, I don't know what the reason is right now, but there must be some type of reason that Ange went, all right, cool, re-sign him. It's on a loan again. It's on a loan. It's not permanent. But maybe that's an experienced signing. Maybe that's somebody who's been around the world, been at big clubs, been a winger, that been an adaptable player that's played up front as well. Maybe he's experienced. Maybe his fight to get back to his best. Maybe all of the lessons that come with Timo can help a young side, as well as kind of do the basics that Ange wants to do, which is to get to the byline and cross it in. Do you know what I mean? So those are the two sides of it. Because he's wearing a Tottenham shirt, I always want him to do well, because he's going out there to do well for us. So I always want him to do well. And, let's see. But he's only on loan. I've got a feeling he won't even make the bench by Christmas. By January, I'm going to guess that Fabrizio Romano's is going to come out and go, Tottenham are thinking about cancelling the deal. Do you know what I mean?
Well, how about, Ricky? We're playing our Europa League, or our first game of the group in a couple of weeks' time against Qarabag at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. How about Ange Postecoglou gives him a start in that game? Perhaps he gets an assist, a goal or two, help his confidence.
He needs that too.
Yeah. James Fox says here, I believe in Ange Postecoglou. I think he will bring back the glory days. But what you have said, he needs patience. Mangus writes here, Tottenham fans carry too much baggage. It's ridiculous. Ange is the man to move the club forward. There is a lot of positivity for Ange Postecoglou. I know there's a lot of negativity as well. It is a complete mix at the moment. Paul writes here, wow, 3 games in and you all go into meltdown.
Yeah, let's not go into meltdown. There's no need to go into meltdown. It's okay.
There you are. Lastly, Ricky, I'm going to ask you this. Darren Kilbane writes here, Romero was a joke against Newcastle, also cost us against Leicester. It's funny, actually, because in the last couple of days, the national press in Argentina, and we know that everyone in Argentina absolutely loves Christian Romero, including Lionel Messi, the great Messi. The national press of Argentina have just written the following. He's a beast. He doesn't lose one duel. There is no better centre-back in the world than Christian Romero these days. What have you made of him in a Spurs shirt? What have you made of him in the opening 3 games?
I love Christian Romero. I'm with all the Argentinian fans. I think he's an unbelievable defender. Not only the way he reads the game, the way he slows down the game. He's not afraid to pass again, dribble, take it forward. Like, there's so many things about his game. He loves a challenge. He's an old school aggressive defender. I think he gives us a bit of presence as well that some attackers don't want to come up against, because if he's coming in with a sliding challenge, he's probably taking everything. Do you know what I mean? So he does have a little bit of seeing the red mist sometimes, but I think that's part and parcel of his game. And I think actually, if you look at his game, there's been many a times that he hasn't even got a yellow. He goes games without even getting a yellow at times. Did he switch off against Leicester? Yep, absolutely. And Newcastle, yep, yeah. But there's a couple of things that I believe about Christian Romero is, one, that he's had a lot of football. Copa America, he's had a couple of weeks off, then he's straight back into pre-season. Straight back into, the Bayern Munich game. And then that was a week before the start of the season. So he's only had a couple of weeks, There is going to be dips and fatigue that comes in, but he's a very determined player. He takes responsibility and wants to put himself out there and wants to put everything out there and leave everything out there when he plays for us. That I appreciate too. And I believe, again, self-critical. I think that he's one that will know that he made the mistake. He made the mistake against Leicester, and then against Everton, he was phenomenal, and scored against Everton. He was commanding. It was a clean sheet against Everton. And then, all right, cool, we've gone to Newcastle, and there's a bit of a switch-off moment, or there's a bit of a caught moment when he runs up the field and leaves a bit of a gap.
Ricky, can I put this picture on screen? Because Isaac Preston just said, when did Christian Romero switch off? And I think this is the moment that everyone is talking about, because this is the ball through to Murphy on the right-hand side. Of course, we're playing this high line again. Dragushin in the middle there, keeping the players, I think, is Isak there on side. What do you make of this picture? What do you make of this high line? Who is in the right? Who is in the wrong, in your opinion?
So, okay. So I actually got mixed up on the moments. There was a moment in that Newcastle game where Christian drove forward and he left a gap and he was almost backpedaling.
That's for the first goal.
In this moment, I think the criticism comes from the fact that he's the only one facing the opposite way. But I mean, who's right, who's wrong in this moment? I need to see the sequence, Chris. I know I'm not going to be able to see it. I'm actually looking at it on my screen as well. But obviously he's the only one facing the opposite way. So everybody else is on the run. So you got Isak and the other guy running up top as well on the right hand side. Both of them are on the run. So if he was facing the other way, then he probably would have got that extra yard to be able to cover. But then there's that other side of the game, which is him trying to read what's going to happen next. And sometimes maybe he's going, these lot are going, three of them have run. So let me face up and stop whatever, if there's a pass into midfield or if there's a quick pass here or there. Do you know what I mean? But it was a good pass that got past him and got through. But I think he's self-critical. I think he's going to look at that and go, all right, cool. Well, how can I help that? And again, if we would have taken our chances, we wouldn't even be speaking about it, about whose fault it is. We would have been speaking about the sliding challenge that Dragushin made and the other moments in that match.
But for that first Newcastle goal that Harvey Barnes scored, that is the point where you're talking about, where Romero tries to run the ball upfield. Van der Ven the week before, of course, running upfield, a fantastic assist for Heung-min Son against Everton at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Van der Ven after that game come out and said, and I'm going to paraphrase here, Ange Postecoglou loves what we do. He trusts us to do what we want to do on the pitch. How do you feel as a Spurs fan when the centre backs, 1 week it goes absolutely right, everyone's applauding, absolutely fantastic, Van der Ven, what an assist. Christian Romero tries to do very similar, running up the pitch. And then, of course, we get caught out. A quick throw in, a cross, Harvey Barnes scores. Everyone's saying what's happened. And then, of course, that picture I just showed you there about Romero being square on. What do you make of it, Ricky? Do you worry about that defensive side of our game, particularly when we play such a high line, high risk football?
We won't have to worry. This is what I'm saying. It's like, well, once we get cooking, we won't have to worry about it. We won't have to worry about it.
Because we'll score more than them.
Yeah, exactly. We'll score so many goals that will be. By the time we've scored the third and fourth goal, we would have punched the opposition in the gut, and they're just then playing to get through the game or playing for pride. So they might nick a goal right at the end, but it will finish 4-1. That's where it's going. I was more nervous when Hugo Lloris used to be in goal and we used to play out from the back, and every time it went back to Lloris, I used to panic. Every time he used to get passed around the back line, whoever the back line was at that time, whether it was Dyer or Romero or whoever it was, that's when I was at my worst. That's when I used to pull my hair out. I used to be going nutty. I'm just get it out, play it forward, get it out, play it forward. Just playing in front, side to side, in front of our own box. I was just like, what is this about? With this style of football, even though it does look chaotic, there is a control and there's structure in that chaos. And I think it's going to be more beneficial playing this way than detrimental. We are going to get caught out, yes. But once all of the pieces are in the right place and we click into gear, it will not matter no more. It won't matter no more. Like, we'll be so far ahead. We will demoralize the opposition at times to the fact that we don't have to worry about it. That's where we're going. And so the high line doesn't trouble me because, again, when Maddison spoke about that high line and how many times, it looks like the opposition are just about in, but we've caught them. When I look back, there are a lot of those. I look back in my memory and I'm like, oh no, that's happened a couple of times where it looked dangerous, but our line was solid. There are going to be moments when everybody's everywhere, and there are going to be moments that we concede those goals. But once we're cooking, I don't think we have to worry about it. I think we'll be gone clear by that time.
Ricky, imagine, I know me and you have spoken about this before. Aussie Ardiles football, of course, we love that.
Yeah.
That 94-95 start of the campaign. I know he was obviously sacked in the November and Jerry Francis took over. But can you imagine our current defence with the 1994-1995 forward line of Klinsmann, Sheringham, Barmby, Anderton, Dumitrescu, you name them? Fantastic. Imagine that front line and imagine our defence now. Wow.
The only one back would be Vicario. It would be the keeper, whoever the keeper was, whether we pick Vicario. But the only one back would be the keeper. Everyone would be camped in their box, wouldn't they? Like the left back, the right, everyone would be camped in their box. It would be fun to watch for a little while, but bloody, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I tell you, these podcasts would last a lot more than 2 hours.
Tell me about it, bro. Bloody.
Last one, because of course Radu Dragushin has been in the team because of course Mickey van der Ven was out for the Newcastle game. A number of people are saying, when I put on that picture on the screen, saying, well, Radu Dragushin was playing Murphy on there. Ram writes here, he must be played more often. What have you made of Radu Dragushin? Because he's had to be very patient, hasn't he, to get game time at Spurs?
He has been, but every time he's come on, he's impressed me. His physical stature, his strength, his intelligence, heading ability, the sliding challenges, he's got power in him, and he's another ambitious player, another intelligent player. Can play it forward again, who's not really scared to take it forward. Yes, definitely needs some more minutes in there, and I think that with more games this year, he's definitely going to get those minutes. But I think like he's going to give the boss something to think about when it comes down to like, all right, cool. Now it's a combination thing. The same way we were talking about in midfield. You know, we know that the Ange has got a set back five, including the goalkeeper. We know what that is. That's just one thing that we can guarantee. Those five are going to be the number ones. But Dragusin comes in and he actually kind of upsets the apple cart a little bit, because there are times when you go, all right, cool. Romero, you're fatigued, you're tired, or you've just got the yellow and I can see the steam coming out of your ear rolls. Come off, sunshine, come off. And we've got a fantastic replacement that comes in there and gives us something else, gives us something new. We are on, like, we've got a really great player there. Also, can I just say that comment there, the Swedish connection, to go get Gyökeres up there, with Kulu and Bergvar, that'd be amazing. Oh man, look, all the nice comments are coming in. Thank you guys.
Well, I don't know about nice. What Wayne says here, Chris is looking more and more like Ange every day. I tell you, I got the Pochettino one. Now I'm getting the Ange one.
Mate, you know they say it happens with cats and dogs. They end up looking like their owner. It's the same with the managers, bro. The more you love them, the more you end up looking like them. Do you know what I mean? Oh, mate. No, it's been a good night.
Ricky, you've been absolutely fantastic as normal, and people have loved your positivity today, particularly when we're going into a North London derby. Can I ask you one more question? What's your score prediction?
Score prediction? I'm going to go 3-2. 3-2 Tottenham, of course, but I'm going 3-2. I want to say 2 from Solanke and 1 from Sonny.
Wow. I swear, what a day that will be. I'm looking forward to it.
It's always a basketball game against him. It's always back and forth. It's never over until the very last second. There's been times where they've been 2-0 up and we've come back to beat them 3-2. There's been times that we've been 2-0 and then they've come back. Like, this game is electric. It's always on fire. It's never over until it's over. Do you know how many times I've got a Gooner fan that texts me at halftime when they're winning and then goes absolutely silent when they lose by 90 minutes, bruv? That's my message during the day. Don't text me. When they blows a whistle after 90 minutes, that's when we can speak. Do you know what I mean? But like it's not over until it's over.
Well, of course, Ricky, you'll be back on the podcast straight after the Arsenal game, so hopefully we'll be talking about a win. Thank you so much for your time. I don't think me and you could ever record a short podcast.
No.
But as per normal, the viewers and the listeners have made our night, because they've submitted so many questions, submitted so many comments. So thank you so much for all of your support. Ricky, what are you up to at the moment? Where can people find you?
Oh, I just want to say, firstly, thank you to everyone that jumped in and, you know, sent a question in and listened to us rant mostly me rant for 2 hours, bro. But you know what I mean? Like, thank you to all of you guys around the world, man. You guys are really special. It's great to have a community of Tottenham Hotspur fans and supporters that have, a varied amount of different opinions. It's great to go back and forth, and it's great to chat and just have this opportunity, man. Like it's so lovely, you know, when I see you guys from around the world and in the UK as well. I love you guys in the UK as well. It is just really special to just hear two guys waffling on about the team that they love and going through the highs, lows, and the heartbreaks and the hopes. You know, it's really, really special. Thank you to all of you guys out there that have sent in love and that have sent in crazy questions and that have just interacted and support the show as well. You guys are amazing. You know where you'll find me. You'll find me here after the North London derby. And yes, I'm keeping busy. I'm keeping my weeks busy. There's a couple of things for Fashion Week next week that I've got to sort out. And there's a charity night I'm doing next week as well. So just keeping busy, man. And, you know, when the next exciting thing pops up, I will definitely let you all know.
Well, Ricky, have a great week. Thank you so much. There were a couple of Watford comments and questions in there, but I gave you a night off.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. God damn. No, sending you all big love. Always an honor and a pleasure, Chris. Thank you, mate.
Ricky, thank you so much. Have a great week, as I say, and thanks so much for all of your questions and comments. We look forward to doing another one of these very, very soon. Have a good week, everyone, and until the next time, come on, you Spurs.
Come on.